Sara with you today for this week's Technique Tuesday. I am going to start by creating some tiny envelopes using the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. I'm going to ink my edges using Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink first before I start punching and making some envelopes. So this month's Technique Tuesday focus is hidden journaling. You can do hidden journaling with flips. You can do hidden journaling by creating a pocket. I decided for my project today, I wanted to create some envelopes. I'm using the guide that is printed right on the punch board to help me create the right size envelopes. My envelopes are going to be gift card sized envelopes. So they're like, I think they're like 2.5 by 3, something like that. And I'm going to make 3 of them. I don't end up using all 3 of these on my page today. When I am doing projects like this, that I have to create some paper elements before I start working on the layout, I generally do more than what I think I'm going to need, simply so that when I sit down and start creating, then the creative process isn't interrupted by me needing to go and create more envelopes, say. But also, if I end up with extras, that's totally fine. I will be working with the Hello Pink Autumn collection from Prima. And that collection is still in the shop. I have lots and lots of it. So I know any elements that are cut and kind of put into the collection altogether will get used. Now, check out this hack. This is not my hack. This is, I took this from another YouTuber. This is Coley Bing's hack. And so what I have here is I have some nice, thick, heavy white cardstock scrap, just a scrap paper. I put it on the 2-inch mark on my trimmer so that I can cut perfectly equal 2 by 2 inch squares. So I just push the paper up to that line. And then all of the squares I'm going to cut right now are going to be the same size. I have a hard time cutting things uniformly. And this idea from her was just too fabulous not to implement in my craft room. So thanks for that, Nicole. I'm going to go ahead and create a quilt style background for today's layout. So I am marking in pencil some guide marks here. I want to get guide lines that start 2 inches from the top and bottom of my page and then have them go every 2 inches across. This, plus the help of my T-square ruler, is just going to keep everything very precise. And when you're working with a layout inspired by a quilt, things need to be a little bit more precise than usual so that you get the look you're going for. So I'm going to fill this background and create my quilt pattern now. And the quilt pattern is really easy. I'm using both gray Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink and Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. What this allows me to do is it makes it so that I have coordinating inks on my pages. So some of these papers have more of a gray tone to them. Some have a little bit of brown. Both gray and brown are pretty prominent in this fall collection. So depending on what pattern I am using, depends on what ink I'm using. When I was choosing papers to create my pattern, I went with all of the textured patterns in this line. So this line has some beautiful, gorgeous textured patterns. So there are some of these plaids and flannels. Not only do they have that kind of plaid on them, but then there's this background like linen texture on the paper. Not so much that you can feel it, but you can see it. I hope that that makes sense. It's absolutely beautiful. I especially adore this sweater paper that you'll see here in a minute. It's just gorgeous. So I am using my T-square ruler to continue to make sure that everything is nice and straight. I'm going to do 4 rows, one of each of these patterns across the whole page, and lots of using of my T-square ruler, lots of kind of measuring and making sure that this background comes out symmetrical. Now, I will say right away that I totally could have skipped this row because I'm actually going to end up setting my embellishments, and most of them will cover up this third kind of black and white check pattern or plaid pattern. But at the time that I started this background and as I was putting it together, I didn't know that. So now that I have my first 4 blocks done and I know how everything is going to be spaced, I'm just going to continue working across each of these rows. Get them lined up, use my T-square ruler so that everything is centered, not so much centered, but in a row. I hope that makes sense. And here we are with our finished background. I'm going to use a mono sand eraser just to get rid of the pencil marks that might still be on my page. And now I have my journaling here. I have already written my journaling down, and I'm just going to use a bone folder to get a nice crease in my journaling, and that will be our hidden element for our page today. I want to make sure that this element is kind of noticeable. I'm going to add a little pull tab to it using one of these pattern papers. So I'm going to just punch 2 circles and then add a little bit of a pull tab to the top. And then we are going to go ahead and slip this right into one of our envelopes. This is a great way to add journaling to a layout that you want to make really pretty or really full, and there isn't an obvious spot for a journaling area, or if you want to tell a story that you don't want the whole world to know about. In this case, it was just because I didn't have an obvious spot to put my journaling, and I thought these envelopes would be really pretty. I'm going to be scrapbooking a heritage photo today. This photo is of my grandmother. She was born in 1930, and this photo was taken in 1931. This is not the original photograph. I have a lot of heritage and older photographs, and I do digitize them and keep them in an archival museum box. I do not scrapbook the originals. If you are interested in heritage photos, you can swing over to my channel. I kind of go in spurts. I digitize and print a bunch, and then I will do kind of a bunch of heritage photos, and then I might move on to some more current things and come back to some more heritage photos after I've digitized and printed some more. I'm going to center my photo right on my page, and then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 envelope to each side of my photo, and including the journaling, we can also go ahead and add lots of embellishments and really create a stunning page because we have our journaling, we have our photo, and adding a title is really simple. We're actually going to use just an element, a typography element from this collection for our photo. So I'm going to go through the embellishments. I have already trimmed off all of the white borders around my die cuts today. If you follow me on my channel, you know that I do not like white borders on my die cuts. It's kind of a thing. And so when I created my first layout using this collection, I realized we were going to need to trim the white borders off. So I just went and trimmed them all off so that creating is a little bit easier. So I am going to go ahead and kind of play with the die cuts that I have, decide where I want my embellishments to go. I know I want to tuck things into these envelopes, but I also want to add things on top of the envelopes. And I think at one point here I'm going to cut a butterfly in half that I don't really mean to cut in half. There's also these cute little keys, so lots of just little fun embellishments. This is like playtime right now. This is where I get to play and decide what I want to do. I decided I want to add a little bit of detail to my journaling spot. Remember, it's supposed to be hidden. That's our technique for this month, hidden journaling. So I want to make sure that my finished page, it's not super obvious where my journaling is necessarily. So just tucking things around my photo until I have it set up the way that I would like it. And there's that butterfly that I cut in half accidentally. I cut it in half because I thought I was going to do something with it, but then it didn't look right. So it's okay though. We're going to fix that butterfly up and he's coming back. Time to kind of start to get things adhered down on my page. This little sweater weather cut apart element is going to become my title, and I would like it to be set apart from all of the other different kinds of floral elements on the page. So I'm going to pop it up using some foam tape just to give it a bit of lift and dimension. I'm going to go ahead and grab this cute little bird and add him to the top of my journaling so that when I tuck him into that envelope, the journaling is kind of disguised a little bit and everything blends in well, so it's not going to stick out too much. And here's the part where I grab that butterfly. I decide I do want another butterfly to kind of balance the one that's in the top left corner of my embellishments. So I'm just going to kind of, glue him back together and he'll be fine. You won't even notice that I cut him in half. Now, I've noticed after I created my background that I have this bit of kind of open edge across the bottom. You could certainly have left it. I don't think anyone would notice, but I noticed. The other thing is that I'm also kind of coming to the realization that I had completely covered up all of that one plaid patterned paper across the middle. So let's kill two birds with one stone and fix that up. Add that pattern back in and kind of finish off that bottom edge where we have that bit of a gap. And there we go. So I'm just kind of being careful using my T-square ruler, getting this. I don't want it to look crooked on my page. That would be a problem. I'm gonna have a little bit of an offcut there, which is fine. Just kind of snip it off. And then our layout is all finished and ready to go. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Oh, and this is where I realized that the bird needs to go on the other side so that you can easily open the journaling and have it face the correct way. Always important, right? I hope you like this cute little technique to add some hidden journaling to a page. You will find down below a link to all the products that I have used, and here are the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today for Technique Tuesday. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you again next month here at A Cherry on Top's YouTube channel.